Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Collective Creative Initiative. We have the wonderful Paul Harper with us today, but before we get on to that, just want to have a little chat with you about a couple of things. So we want to grow this, grow. So literally get onto our social medias, and I don't care if it just upsets everyone that's your friends, but please share, retweet everything. We're doing well. We're nearly at 50,000 views in 6 weeks, which is outstanding for us. We're so proud and so happy. So thank you to everyone who watches and follows. But on Twitter, we are CCI 2020. So follow us, retweet, go crackers. Literally, the industry needs this right now, right? We need something to grip onto. We need some positivity out there. So use this. There's so much content. If you're an actor, somebody said to me the other day, oh, it looks quite musical theatre-y. No, it's not. Just because we have singing and acting and dancing, they're three separate areas of the industry. So we cover dance as much as we can, acting as much as we can, vocals as much as we can, mental health awareness. This is not just for industry minds. If you know someone who spends all time on computers and YouTube is their thing, send them to our webinars with Mary Birch. Maybe they can she can help them out. We have Pilates, yoga, fitness. If you're looking for some form of fitness and you can't get down your gym or you don't want to go to your gym, we have incredible fitness experts on here. Natalie Hope, Kenny Walker. We have Jiggle Fitness, the wonderful Jessica who does yoga. We have Muriel who does meditation. So we have all of that going on. Then the incredible Q&As with casting directors, wonderful producers and agents like Paul who's coming on. And it's all there. All these questions that you ask constantly, they're answered here on this platform. So just subscribe, get sharing. On Instagram, we are Collective Creative Initiative. And we do need these positive things to maintain our skills, to keep us going, because when this industry comes back, and it will come back very soon, you've got to be ready, right? So get onto it, share the love. That's what I say. So anyway, we are going to bring in the wonderful Paul Harper, and we're going to talk about him. I've known Paul for a very long time, and a lot of this will just be a mate's natter, I tell you. But we will answer questions. So if you have a question and you're a subscriber and you haven't asked a question before, you need to go to live comments and you can type your question there or remark. So say hi now and ask those questions early on. We might not answer them straight away, but if you save it all to the end, then it can be that we miss it because there's a slight delay sometimes from you asking the question to us getting that question. So start those questions now. Paul was a performer. We'll talk about that. He's an agent. We'll talk about that. Predominantly, it's about producing today, so that will be the major chunk of it. So without further ado, let's bring in Mr. Paul Harper. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, James? You all right?
Thank you so much for joining us today on this Thursday morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
What's the weather like? You're in Glasgow, right?
Glasgow today, yeah. Yeah, it's a lovely wet day in Glasgow, so it's lovely. It's lovely, but it's nice, nice and humid. How you doing?
It is humid, yeah. I'm humid. The backs of my legs are sweaty already, and it's only 10 o'clock in the morning. But no, we're good. It's grey. It's overcast down here in Sussex. Really need a nice, bright, shiny weekend. I think that's what we need this weekend. So so Glasgow. Have you always lived in Glasgow? Is that because you're from there and all that? Tell us a bit about that.
No, I was born and raised in Glasgow in the south side, and then went and trained in Scotland, and then after working and stuff, then moved to London for a couple of years. Lived in London for a few years, and then then came back. So now I work between Glasgow and London, and obviously we've got our Manchester office as well, and so kind of all over the place. But based in Glasgow just now.
And obviously, I just want to touch a little bit on the arts at the moment. And, I have to say, I should have a hashtag We Love You Nicola t-shirt, because it's not that she's got everything right, but she's definitely driving a clearer vision of what is right. Now, you know, it's that thing of nobody's perfect and no one's had to deal with this before, you know, and I'm never like putting down things because, you know, someone made a mistake, but the confusion, you know, making confusion is the worst thing. It's like doing a driving lesson, isn't it? You know, confusion will cause you to crash. So are you kind of happy up there in Scotland with how she's working and the way she's working towards arts and that area? Is she doing good, do you think?
Yeah, I think she's given clear instructions, which is what we need, especially in Scotland. We need to be told what to do. Yeah, because we can, we like to have a good time. So yeah, we like to be told, given clear instructions, so you know you're not breaking the rules or whatever. But yeah, no, I think she's doing a great job, and she's kind of steering the country in, you know, the right direction. And you know, we were a wee bit concerned about the whole arts thing, as I'm sure the whole UK was. And you know, with Insideout the company, we actually put a thing towards the Scottish Government as well. And then about a week after that, then it started getting announced that they were going to bring money to the arts, to the venues and stuff. So that was a kind of a welcomed relief. But no, I think she's doing a great job, and I think yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel now, which is quite exciting. And obviously through this whole time, this pandemic, we've been working non-stop to try and like get to the end of that tunnel and to make sure that we're back and everything is kind of set up as well as it can be.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? That's really what why the CCI came about, was partly the maintenance of the performer, as that's a big chunk of what this was about, as well as like sustainability for practitioners and introduction to the arts for people maybe from who don't know about it or from less fortunate backgrounds. But it's about that maintenance, about having things in place for when it opens up and having performers, you know, that have still been able to access some form of training. So that was very much it, isn't it?
No, it's been great, the work you guys, you know, we've been doing with CCI. It's been great, and it's just, in a way, it's like a drama school.
Yeah.
Up in the morning, and you know, it's like drama school. You get up, you can do your fitness class, you can like have Q&As, and do you know what's great about it? We've been finding this as well. We've been doing a lot of Q&As with like drama students, with casting directors, and it's actually quite nice for people to get to ask questions that they never get, because everyone's just so busy all the time. So, and you can ask questions that you would never get to ask. And what's been quite good is I think it's quite a consistent answer a lot of the time, which is great. But yeah, I think it's great having things like CCI, and because it's something that's present online that people can, you know, and I think give people structure for the day.
Yeah.
You know, get up in the morning, they've got a purpose to kind of, you know, get up, get kind of training, get their mind, you know, ready, so that, I mean, the minute that everything really kicks off, you're just fully prepared, ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about Paul Harper. So you started as a performer. Tell us a bit about that and your journey as a performer, and, you know, when it all started for you.
So left high school and then went to college, trained. I was originally meant to go and study acting, but then I thought, you know, I want to kind of broaden my skills. So I studied for 2 years in musical theatre. And then that was great. I had a brilliant time, and then I was really lucky at the end of that to kind of go out and go straight into work. I was meant to go and do like a postgrad in London, but then luckily I managed to kind of go straight into work, so I deferred that place, didn't have to go. And then Fiona Keddie Ord, who I work with, who's my business colleague at Keddie Scott, she, me and her were friends for years and years, and she was performing as well. She just finished drama school, she was working, and then she was saying she was wanting to open an agency. And then she said to me, would you come and be like my client, my first ever client? I was like, yeah, because we got on so well, and she was so hardworking, and we got on that house and fan. She knew me really well. And then literally that was kind of it. And then, you know, went into shows, was working, you know, television, bits of film, a lot of theatre. So yeah, did that for about 10 years. But in between, I mean, I'm sure all actors like out there as well know, it's like, it's great, you get a job, it's fantastic, you're 6 months on tour, or you're away filming or whatever, and then, you know, the hype's brilliant, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I need to go back and work in the pub again. Mm-hmm. And then you're like auditioning, working in the pub, you know, up and down to London, you know, recalls, finals, then you're back, and then like, oh, I never got the job, right? I need to work in the pub again. So in between all that, I was kind of thinking, you know, well, actually, no, that's how I met you. We did Flopstar.
Well, you met my wife before I did.
Yes, I did.
Which is amazing, which is like so bizarre. So Rosie and I always talk about these moments through our life where we almost met. There was some big events which we were invited to, blah, blah, and there was one that we were actually at. And I remember chatting, and we talked to the same people almost at the same time. So and then it was like 6 months later that we actually met. But you met Rosie before I did.
Yeah, me and her nearly get cast on Disney. I think it was a Disney program or something. Yeah, and then we met and we went through all the callbacks and stuff together, and that's how we met. Yeah, and it's crazy. And now obviously like we're like a family now, so it's crazy.
So weird.
So weird. Yes, I met Rosie, and then you were doing a show at the Edinburgh Festival, and then I got a call to say, "Oh, James Pearson can finish the show. We need someone to basically come in and take over the role." And then I came up to Edinburgh and I met you, and then you were rehearsing me in, and then we became like really good friends. And then I took over the show when you left, and then and that's actually when the whole kind of producing thing came in, because I was doing that, and it was only a 3-hander, and I remember going, "Oh my god, this would be great," and it'd be so easy to kind of like put on in different venues. And then that's when the kind of, when I was like working in the bar in between like acting jobs, and I was coming up with the idea of like having a production company, and then I thought, oh god, this show's a gift. And then that's when I ended up bringing it to Glasgow as a kind of pilot in 2005 after we did it.
Wow.
And then that's kind of when Insideout was kind of the born. And then I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. And it's tough though. It was tough because it's so much, because obviously I was a performer in it, but see, actually having to, like recast it, like, make it bigger, like, get the venues, get the money behind it. Like, it's like you go, it is a, it's a big job. But
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about it, because this is a big thing. We're doing lots of like sessions on making your own work. So the producing side or directing side or whatever it is, writing. So there's lots of these kind of sessions, and this is one of the producing ones. And it is that thing that, people talk to us all the time, and we're always like, the person, okay, you might be talking about producers doing X, Y, Z, or not doing enough, or doing this. They are the risk. All the risk is on them. It's every ounce of it. It's not on the director. It's not on the cast. It's on them. If it fails, the person who loses the biggest is the producer. Hands down. Yes, the actor loses their job, and yes, but the producer has invested sometimes their homes in these projects, and their university fees for their children and stuff like that. So talk us through, because that was amazing. Like, so I got offered to do Flopstar, and I said I can't do the whole thing because I had a tour, a play, but I really wanted to do it. I loved the material so much. And that's when we were like, well, we could do this half and half. And when you came up, it was amazing to like work with you, meet you, and it was really great. So from your process of being in that show, and we'll talk about, we might start talking about this, but talk about being in something and producing it as well, which Rosie and I have done, which I would never do again. It's just like, people ask us all the time about casting. We do mentoring and casting, but also like some basic producing, and we always say, don't be in what you're producing. You will have a horrible experience. Yeah. So what was your process? You were in the show, you had this vision, you thought this would be amazing. Talk us through how you got the money, how you convinced the venues, and things like that. Talk us through the process.
Because it was a 3-hander, and it was a brilliant show, and I loved the music, and I thought it was brilliant. And I think because I only got to do half of it, so in a way it was quite good that we kind of shared the role. And I just
such a great part.
Brilliant part, but this is maybe the kind of creative side started, because obviously I'd only been an actor, but then like backstage, there was like, because that character was kind of by himself quite a lot, he was like the narrator of the show, so then I'd be backstage, and then I just used to think, this would be amazing, I've got lots of like incredible dancer friends, we could put a dance in this number, in the big restaurant scene and the big club scene, and I was like, and oh, we could do this, we could do that, and I'm like, oh right, now I need to go and do the show. So then when I finished it, then I spoke to the writer and I says, listen, I think this this could go further, and I think a Glasgow audience would love this because it's got a kind of club feel to it, and it was very relevant at the time. So it was kind of the time like not Flopstar, Popstar, and all the X Factor shows were coming out, and it was a kind of like tongue-in-cheek kind of nod to those shows. And then I said, I think they just spits it and rewritten, and then things need to be done. I said, but would you give me the rights to do it? And she said, yeah, no worries. So then, because like growing up and stuff in Glasgow, we were in a lot of clubs, growing up, being at school and stuff. So I knew quite a lot of like the club promoters and a lot of the venues. And one of the guys, I said, listen, there's this show. I was like, obviously we don't have a lot of money, but I really think it was in this club called Ivory Blacks, which is in Hope Street, and it's perfect. It's like when you imagine just going into that kind of club environment, and it was perfect. Had a stage and stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll do it." And then I think he gave it to me for like nothing. Like he just said, "Like I'll support you. I'll do it." And I was like, "I'm really grateful for that." And then I think there was 3 cast, and then I added in maybe about 8 dancers to it. So it kind of just blew it up, and then put it on sale, and it was really, really popular. It was great. It was really popular. And we changed bits of it just to make it a bit more interact with the audience, and then that's not really started getting the buzz for producing. And I thought, oh my god, I love that I've just taken that product we did in Edinburgh, and like, which is what you want when you go to Edinburgh, you want to see it do something else. But because obviously money was kind of tight at that point, I still had to play that part. So the part we played. So, but that, I mean, all through like, the past, 15 years, I have been, I was been an actor, but then I was producer, but then I was like doing acting jobs to put money into the company. And then, when I became an agent, like I was still doing acting jobs to, kind of just build the businesses. So, but then it got to a point where I was like, I can't be in these things and do them. And
You didn't direct Flopstar as well, did you? Did you direct it? So you directed it, you were in it, and you...
That's what you need to do. See, when you start and you've been an actor, but you want to produce, like you need to start and you need to you're calling in all the favours, calling in all your friends. Like one of my best friends, Susie, like, I brought her in and was like, right, you're dance captain. We brought all these different people in, brought people up from London, but they really wanted to do it because some of them came to see the show in Edinburgh and they loved it.
Yeah, and we did it after there. We did it at the King's Head in London as well. Yeah,
they asked you back, not me, raging.
Can I say, originated the role. I hope that you had that, originated the role, James, in your program. Sure,
actually did. Yeah. At the beginning, the beginning, you're calling. This is why it's nice to be nice. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to be nice because then when you really, you need people, to kind of like help you build something that you can't build an empire by yourself. It's people, you bring people in to help you. So Flopstar was the kind of first one.
So back then, so there's like, this is all pre-social media in the way that we know it now. So how did you market it? How did you sell the tickets? What was your kind of like, did you literally do that Edinburgh thing where you flyed it, went to the streets, handed them out? What was your process there? Or was it because it was a nightclub, you already had kind of an audience going to that club? How did you do it?
It was old school. Like, you would go into mailboxes with a design, you'd get them to blow up a poster, then you'd pay some to like put them up, canvass from around the city. Really, it was back then. It was a lot of word of mouth. Yeah, a lot of word of mouth, and I think a lot of people because everyone was just going to all the big #1 shows or whatever. So I think people were interested to see, because at that point there wasn't really a lot of musical theatre in Scotland, and because in London it was bursting, with cabarets and all these sort of things. So the whole thing was I wanted to try and bring a bit of that to Scotland. There was no social media. It was all just you had to pay someone to basically like market it and everything. But it would be so much easier if you had social media back then. Like, it just spreads.
Do you think this is an area I want to talk about more, but maybe we'll talk about it now? I want to go back to that starting point and then how you started your company, but. Actually, no. I'll save the social media. I'll save the social media for later. So then, a song, a sip, and that was your next thing?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, so we're doing Flopstar, and that was great. And then obviously it made absolutely no money. Flopstar made no money. Like, I lost money on it, and I was like, right, okay. So, you know, but like, you just go, right, cool. Well, I kind of got the bug for producing then, and then you know, been to New York and London and stuff. There was all these brilliant cabarets, but then I was going, there's just so much amazing talent in Scotland that never really gets to do, you know, those lovely little gigs you get to do in between a show or in between filming.
Yeah.
So then we came up with an idea of, because there was already like a lot to do with like straight acting. So I came up with this idea of like a song, a sip, and a sandwich. So basically you come in, you get a song with like incredible performers. It was all different weeks, different performers, and then you got like a glass of wine with it and then a sandwich. Because we have a really successful show, Oran Mor called The Play of Pineapple. So it was a kind of, again, tongue-in-cheek musical theatre version of that. So we started that at the Tron Theatre, and then that really got a buzz about it. And, you know, the performers we were getting in, and again, at the beginning, it was, you know, I was bringing in a lot of friends, you know, just to kind of experiment, kind of pilot how it would all kind of work. And then it started making money. So then you could start really paying the performers. But then we realised that the sip and the sandwich cost quite a lot of money. So that was kind of draining the funds. And then I was just like, yeah. So because you know, you're trying to be creative, you're bringing a catering staff, and you're like, you know, obviously having to pay for all the wine. And so then it got to the point, then we just took away the sip and the sandwich, and I thought, because I wanted to, you know, the performance to get, you know, more money and more exposure. So then we changed it to Broadway in the bar. So basically it was in a bar, and then you come in, so people would pay for their own drink, and then they would get the show. So it was the same concept as Song Sip, but and then Broadway Bar really took off, and loads of venues wanted it, which was great. So we had like multiple cast, like, and then, you know, some theatres would go, oh, obviously it's not in a bar, so then we'll call it a night of musicals or Best of Broadway. But it is quite unique. The way we did it, we made it quite unique. So we made it very interactive with the audience, because a lot, you know, these concerts are very standing sound, so it's very interactive. It's, and you know, and by the end of every show, like, guaranteed the audience will be up on their feet dancing. So that that was really good. That was the kind of bread and butter for the company, to kind of, you know, get those shows out and get and it was great to, like, you know, give actors, like, you know, nice little, you know, Saturday, Sunday gigs.
Yeah.
So that kind of started to build up the kind of the pot of money with that. But then at the same time as that, then I was starting the agency as well, the Scottish side of Keddie Scott. So yeah, because I realised I was still liking acting, but then I was loving more working with people and like working with actors, and then when I was in London, I did temp in the London office, so that's when I kind of got. I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. I love working with people. I love, you know, that, and then I started to love giving people the news that they were getting a job, rather, you know that feeling when you get a job, and you're like, oh God, and you're like, oh no, actually go and do the job now. But like, it's the actual thing of getting the job that you love. So then I quite like giving, you know, I like working with actors and giving them the opportunity. So that's when I kind of started shifting into the whole agency producing sort of thing.
With going back a little bit on the Broadway in a bar and talking about putting your own money into it, I've always sort of said that with producing, it should be like when you go to a casino, only take the money you're happy to lose. At the beginning. Don't risk things that you think that might, like, don't risk your house if that ain't going to pay off. And so, like, was that a sort of theory that you took forward as well? Was that something that you were like, do you know what, I've got this money, if I lose it, man, I've just got to pick up those shifts in those bars to pay it all back, but if I don't do this now, when am I going to do it? Was it that kind of feeling? How did that feel for you?
Yeah, we have this phrase, it's shy kids don't get sweeties. So, you know, we kind of just like, you know, you need to go out there, you need to be bold and try it. But there is a risk, there's a total risk in it. And, you know, there were times, you know, we do those concerts and then, it'd be like, right, I need to go back to the bar again and stuff. But yeah, but then you just need to keep reinventing things as well. But then it did get to the point that we had so many concerts out that it then started bringing in money that then I was like, right, now we've done this for a good couple of years now, we need to move on to the next step, which was that actually to produce a musical, because that was the kind of dream, was to do a full scale musical.
Something that I think where your success has come from, and we both, Rosie and I, always sort of look to you and think, wow, what's fantastic. You're constantly evolving, and you've been constantly growing over the number of years that we've known you, and with the producing, is I think that you listen, but not to you. You listen to your audience. And so that thing of like a song is said, okay, we're losing money. Oh, let's do Broadway in a bar. Well, it's in a theatre. All right, if that's what you want, we'll make that. And I feel something that you do very well is listen to your audience. And so many producers don't necessarily do that. There's a theatre that in particular that I'm not going to mention, but we used to watch their programming and go, you are so off your audience. And they have struggled, and you're just like, and then the one thing of the year that does really well actually does talk to the audience. It literally says, this is the audience that's gonna, and that money pays for everything else. I think that's something that you have done. That you watch, you constantly, you're innovative, and you've come up with ideas, and you've probably encouraged those that within Glasgow. Other people have probably gone, oh wow, amazing. But is that something that you do? Am I right, or am I just sort of spitballing? Do you listen to your audience a lot?
No, so did you say that, do we listen to the audience?
Yeah. Is that something that do you feel that's something that's helped with your success, is listening to what that city or what the audience want?
Yeah, because because there'll be sometimes like, oh, I really want to do this and I really want to do that, but then automatically I go, Paul, it won't sell. It won't. People come to me with ideas all the time, and I go, oh, I'd love to do that. Sure, I'd love to do that play, but I'm like, it just won't sell. So and a lot of time, because I got to know a lot of the theatre managers and stuff, I was like, what I used to say, what's the gap in your program? And then they'd say, we need commercial stuff. Yeah. But we've got lots of brilliant plays and like really obscure stuff, but we've got no commercial content. So I was like, right, so this is, I'm going to start getting a commercial brain on. So you listen, if and if there's a demand for it, then you need to deliver.
I'm just going to go here, Mr. Sam Griffiths. The development of these shows is so fascinating. Paul is the king of creating show brand and growing it. Oh, wonderful. Tamas says, hi everyone. Hi Tamas. If you want to ask Paul any questions, please go to live comments. You can only do this if you subscribe. So if you don't subscribe now. That's not easy to say. And then you can ask us questions as you go and get involved. Please ask as we're talking about things. Don't wait till the end, because we might run out of time. So ask those questions as we go. It is, and I think it's a massive thing. So you've gone Broadway in the bar. So it's Flopstar, Broadway in the bar. When did you come up with your company name? And when did that start? When did you go, right, I feel I can not just be Paul Harper now doing this. I'm going to make this a company. Was that really early on, or when did that start?
That was just before Flopstar. But when me again, my friend Susie, I need to come up with a name of this company. And she said, I don't want it to be like, Paul Harper Productions Presents. Like, I want to kind of keep it separate, because I want it to, be kind of for everyone. And then, and it was actually her, I'll give her the credit, she came up with it. She said, because she was a dancer, she still is a dancer. And she said, well, you know what, I was always taught as a dancer, to do everything from your inside out, not your outside in. And I was like, and then obviously being an actor, that's what, do it from the inside. So it was like inside out. Fantastic.
So that was before Flopstar?
Yeah. Because I'm going to have to call it something. So then, that's what came up with Inside Out.
Fantastic.
I mean, quite funny, because sometimes if there's people that years and years ago have worked with us, and then their CVs come in, and I'm quite excited to see them again, and they call it Upside Down Productions. Wrong. I think it's Inside Out, not Upside Down, but
that's amazing. I love that. I love that. What came after Broadway in the bar? Where did it go from there?
So after that was happening, and then I was like, right, I think it's time we need to do it, because we had a really good relationship with the Tron Theatre in Glasgow, which is a brilliant theatre. And I was like, it's time, like we really need to actually, you know, the concerts are still going on, like, you know, continuously. I was like, we need to do something. We need to, like, I really wanted to get a huge ensemble of like actors together, you know, Scottish based. And so there's a brilliant show called Elegies for Angels, Punks and Raging Queens, said by Russell and Janet Hood. And I'd known the piece for ages. And what I loved about it was there was lots of speeches and like monologues in it, and then it was interspersed with singing. And you know the shows. There was a brilliant show. Yeah. I wanted to take it, but I wanted to make it more like, you know, I think it was a cast of 21 we had. And then, but instead, because usually it was just, you know, monologue, song with 2 people, monologue, you know, song with like 3 people. So we made the like big company numbers and just blew it more into kind of full, because it was only a 45-minute show. We blew it into a 2-act musical because I got in touch with Bill in New York, and then he's a great friend now, and he gave me permission to do it and to kind of do a kind of a revival, as he called it. So we did it at the Tron. We rehearsed it again. You know, money. We had a cast of 21, and I think everyone couldn't believe that we were actually going to do this show in, you know, in the Tron and like with the cast. And I think everyone just did it for the love of it at the beginning, because obviously the time you pay for the rights, you know, your MD, the cello player, the set design, everything, and we had a cast of 21. So I think everyone just did it for expenses at the time. It was in 2011, so we did. So that's when we did Elegies, which was a huge success. And it was just, everyone was just, it was just so nice to have that kind of scale of show, you know, from a kind of musical and a play in Scotland. So that was great. And then it did so well. We had such an incredible cast that the people that wanted to do it was amazing. So that was great. So yeah, we did that, and then I was like, right, okay, now we need to up the ante again. So then we did Stephen Sondheim's Company, again with like the most insane cast, and yeah, I just thought like we need to up the ante now. Like we've done this, like we can't just stop now. So then, but while all that was going on, we were still doing the concerts, so that was kind of funding it, and then we had like an educational part of the company as well, which is quite kind of good to mention as well. So we'd send like actors into, you know, schools to do drama, dance, and that. And so then that would bring in some revenue to kind of put towards the shows. But I mean, the expense, like to do a show at that scale was a lot of money.
And was that at the Tron as well, the company?
We did that at the Courtiers, but I mean, it was crazy because Elegies we rehearsed in 2 days, the whole show 2 days, and then Company we did in 5 days. Which, you know, sometimes like, but it's just because obviously, you know, you didn't have the money to be paying, you know, for a 4-week rehearsal or, you know, 4 or 5 weeks rehearsal. So we had to, that's how insane the cast were. They did a Sondheim in a week. So again, and that's why I was so thankful to like the amazing, you know, actors that we worked with, because, you know, they've helped build up everything. So yeah, the Company was great. That was brilliant. And then then that's kind of when things started to change a bit, because you pay so much for these book musicals, and most of them get such huge casts. And then I thought I'll do one more big one just now. So we ended up doing Little Shop of Horrors, because we got asked to open the Webster Theatre. So we opened Little Shop of Horrors, and again, even though it was like a cast of 8, it's like the band was huge, and it was. But so we were just, you know, we're slowly just
set and all of that, and marketing. And so before we go on to the next stage, we have some questions here. Sam, can you expand on talking to venues and industry colleagues about what they want and how that drives your creative pipeline? I want to add on to that what Sam has said about, I've written down here, theatre relationship, which I think fits in quite nicely with what Sam's asked there. And it's that thing of, you talk about being nice, of course, and it's, you don't have to like everyone, do you? Just respect people. That's really, you don't have to be best friends. But what is it, do you think, apart from commercial success? Because I know many times, you know, if someone is not very nice or disrespectful, it doesn't matter what the commercial success is of something. Either a writer doesn't give you the rights, or the theatre doesn't want you. It doesn't matter what you generate for them. If you're not nice to work with, they're just like, do you know what? We'll find someone else. So what do you think are some of the key attributes to creating a theatre relationship, as well as talking to venues, industry colleagues about what they want? What those three things, what is it for you?
I think just being honest and just being upfront, and like, don't try and be all very cloak and dagger about it, you know, and just, I mean, Sam worked together like from ATG, you know, it's about like, you know, you phoning up a venue, or like, you know, speaking to your, you know, your industry colleagues and saying, listen, I've got this idea, please don't steal it. But, you know, can we, you know, I really want to work with you, is there a way we can do it? And 9 times out of 10, I've found that if you're open and honest, and you're being creative, then you're bringing in that opportunity. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of putting it out there. So you're going to, then all of a sudden you feel that it's like a magnet. All of a sudden the right people kind of come to you what you need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but I think just, you know, for me, it's like, for me and for my company, you know, the brilliant people I work with, like we come up with the ideas, and then you can't just sit there on your couch and just go, oh, I really want to do it. You've got to go out there and you've got to be honest and speak to people, and you know, and you've got to knock down the door. You know, because I remember at the beginning, you know, when I was acting and stuff, like I would go to these huge venues, would go, you know, because I had, you know, big ambitions, and they were just like, nah, they were like, you know, we want like a pure huge guarantee up front, and I'm like, whereas like now, because after the year, and because they build up trust, that's a good one. Trust, they build up trust, and you then.
What guarantee is, just before we move on, what's a guarantee?
A guarantee. So sometimes, theatres work in different ways. So sometimes they will buy in a show, but very rarely does that happen now. Or they'll do like a split with you. But if they don't, sometimes if they don't want to, again, take a risk, if they don't know your work that well, then they might want you to basically pay, you know, an upfront guarantee, like they'll get that much from you. So there's different levels, but again, that's how well you got on with people, how well you got on with, you know, the theatres, or, you know, the people that work there, like how well you got on with them. Like basically you're striking a deal, you're negotiating a deal, which is going to work for both. But I think the thing is trying to get in that door first, is, you know, and get people to trust you that the product that you're going to bring is going to be good. And, you know, and things like Sam's saying as well, like, you know, when we first started working together, like there was a show, and then you know, he came up to see it, and he was like, you know, you're trying to get these people in to see your product, and then when they see the kind of magic of it and what they could do, then that's, you know, you build that relationship with them, you build the trust with them, they trust you, and then you're just kind of building like, you know, your own little your circle, as I like to call it.
How important are like reviews for you in terms of being able to build that relationship? So let's say you do something at the Tron. The Tron seats how many people at the Tron? About
400.
400. Great. So a great starting level, but risky starting level theatre. It's not the 100-seater above a pub. It is that step up, that like you can make some money, you can lose. It's that first kind of like pretty big risky. You know, were reviews important for your products to then be able to take it to 1,000-seater theatre or whatever? Does that, you know, or did you invite people to see your work? Did they come? How did that work for you?
Well, actually, when we did the Tron, we did it in the studio, so it was kind of slightly less. So I think that was probably about 120 maybe. But yeah, but no, it was reviewed, and I get it was a great review. But see, to be honest, like reviews are reviews, aren't they? And it's, you know, they're, you know, you get the review one day, and then the next day, you know, they're fish and chip paper. Like they go away, and you know,
there are massive musicals that got absolutely slammed and ran for that 12 years. Because it was the people's show, you know, that there are shows out there that the people just go, we're not listening to that. We love this. So
yeah, I think that it's the audience. It's credit to the audience. The audience, you know, I mean, I never would have, unless I've got like maybe a client in it, or if it's my show, I'll read the review. But or if, like, you know, I've seen it up on social media. But like, I don't. If I want to go and see something, I'll go and buy a ticket. I'll go and see it. I'm not really that fussed. I mean, they're great when you get good ones. You take the lovely little quotes from it, put it on your poster. Do you know what I mean? But like, and if it says anything negative, then I just ignore that. So, but yeah, no, I think and everything's Marmite, isn't it? Some people love a show, some people hate a show, some people like a person, some people hate a person. So it's just, as long as you believe in your own product that you're putting out there, and the cast are happy as well, and the team are happy, then, but yeah, sorry, I've totally waffled on.
So you've done Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
Was that your last known musical that you were like, I now want to change what I'm doing because like we talk about, the money and risk that you have to put into it, sitting there, fingers crossed that somebody will walk through the door and bring you a tenner just to pay for your beer that night. Do you know what I mean? What was that the last one?
Yeah, that was the last one, because what happened is when we did Company, it was a huge success, and then I had great people I was working with, and we were going to try and be ambitious and put out a tour of Company. We got all the theatres behind it. We got everything. Theatres, actually, even like Leicester Square Theatre in London, we're going to take it in. So it was going to travel down south as well. And then all the creative funding people we went to were just like, nah, it's too commercial for us. And I was like, right, okay. So I was like, okay, let's do a commercial show. So we did Little Shop of Horrors. But then, the running costs of that show are, even though you think it's a smaller show, it's massive. Do you know what I mean? So then I thought, do you know what? I need to come up with my own product now. That's mine, that I own, that I can control. That, because I kept looking for shows that were like 2-3 handers, and but a lot of them are quite obscure, and then they won't sell. Yeah. So I thought, right, what is it that people like? I was looking at things like Song Sip, Broadway in the Bar, and night musicals, and I was like, they're packed out, they sell out all the time. So clearly there's a demand for that sort of genre, and obviously people are liking the book musicals, because a lot of them are like, they're funny, or they've got good sense of humour. So I thought, right, I need to come up with my own commercial sort of enterprise. So after speaking to loads of people, there was a lot of gap in the market for like hen parties, and when teachers were leaving school, whatever. So I thought, well, why don't come up with basically, it started off as like a concept, but basically a concept like 4 girls, they all work in school together, and they are having a night out. One of them's just get divorced, so all the friends are coming out. So we kind of workshopped this kind of rough story around the songs. We picked all these great songs, and then that's kind of like how I Will Survive was born, which toured for 4 years, completely sold out all over Scotland. So that was huge, and then it got to the point that we'd exhausted it. We'd done every venue. Sometimes we'd done venue 10 times, and it'd sell out. So it was just the gift that kept on giving. And what was great as well, because we had a cast of 4, but then we had understudies and swing on it. So many people had played the part, so it was giving employment. But then because it was selling, it was starting to build up good revenue. And then we got to the point I was like, I can't keep this going out. It came to the end of the engine, do you know what I mean? I was like, I can't keep taking the and so then I was like, right, I need a sequel. So I thought, right, we'll take it. Right, one of the characters, she's getting married, so it's like a hen party, and it's the same characters from I Will Survive, but it's just years on. So then Girls Night OOT was born, and then because of the success of I Will Survive, it literally just completely, it went crazy. So we started off really small. Again, I always say start off in a small venue, workshop it. We had a brilliant cast, workshop it, make changes and stuff in these kind of smaller venues, and then that's when it started to really pick up. And then we ended up doing the Playhouse a couple of times. The Kings. We toured all over Scotland with it, and now we were still touring from. That's 4 years as well now. That's been on tour.
Wow.
It's good, and again, it's good, and it's a proper full-on show. We've got our swings, our brilliant swings, swings on the show, and we've got it's just brilliant. It's just evolved, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's and the show is actually the same as it was, as it kind of started, but it's just with all the different actors we've brought in, it's kind of everyone brings their own little piece to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been going for 4 years, but that was meant to be touring up until November this year, but obviously because of the pandemic. And basically, we've had to move that tour to 2021, so it's still go back out. It's gone back out 2021. so that was a kind of like sequel to I Will Survive, because at this point I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have to come up with another one. Do you know what I mean? So now it's actually given me a bit of time now to think about kind of what's next. But then because of the pandemic, we ended up last Friday we did Girls Night In, so it was like an online Zoom version. So we just thought we might still create content, keep the kind of buzz of the company going. And plus, because people were missing it. There's a lot of people that love the show. So, we kind of came up with an online version of it. And then on top of that, we've got a panto division as well. So it's just been a bit crazy.
So we'll come on to the panto in a moment. Tamas, we're going to talk about your question there a little bit later on. I just want to, it's about COVID. So I won't forget your question there, Tamas. I'll just come to that a little bit later. Zach asks, how do you go about creating a budget?
Oh, that's a good question. Being honest, so I think you need to, if you decide you're going to produce a show, is that Zach? Yeah,
Zach.
Zach. If you decide you want to produce a show, be it a concert, or whatever, you've got to. Honestly, what I do is I just get the spreadsheet, and then you just go, right, okay, this is the show. How many's in the show? And then I would make a kind of list of all the kind of places that I would maybe want it to go. Or even if you're starting off, maybe if you're just doing one venue, that's always good just to start with one venue. And then like how much, the cast would be, how much, do they need to travel? It's just, sort of things as well. If you're in London, but you want to produce something in Essex, is it more than 25 miles away? Do you need to pay for overnight? Is it, the equity mileage? And it's basically just everything like, PRS, which you need to pay for. There's loads of things. Insurance. A lot of people forget you need to pay insurance because obviously if anything happens to performers. And it's just like everything you can think of, just write it down. It's just like a long, long list. And then you just put a kind of estimated budget, what you think, would be. Sorry not to be more technical, but that's kind of just that's what we do.
No, that's great. Because I mean, do you ever think of it? So do you ever go, if we do it in this venue and it seats 200 people, we're able to charge £10 a ticket and work that way as well and go, so that's if we sell out. So you've got to work it on 80% really, haven't you? And go, well,
I was based on 50% because then it's a bonus. But yeah, it's just and and obviously it's like it's easy, to kind of do the maths if you know how much you sold at 100%, 80%, 50%, 25%, and if anything's less than 50%, then you just go, is it worth you like putting yourself through that? Because if you're going to lose money, but the first couple of shows that you ever do, you never make money. Like I think some people think going into producing, you just produce one show or whatever. Like it's a good couple of knocks, until there's even producers I know that like have had huge successes and then they've taken that success, gone on to something else and they've completely lost it. But I think as long as you're passionate about the project, and be realistic on your budget, just really like don't keep adding like I'll just add like another £500 on there just because, keep it realistic and and keep it as so you could take it to anyone. You could take it to someone that doesn't understand theatre and they'll understand your budget. Just make it as clear as possible.
Great, awesome stuff. So you've done I Will Survive and then Girls Night OOT. When did you think, right, let's do pantos as well? When I was an actor, like we all always did panto stuff, and it was great. But I always thought I'd love to do a kind of scaled down version, like a kind of like a 4 or 5 hander. And then I had a friend that worked at the Courtiers in 2013 with we did a company there. And he phoned me and he says, listen, we need a panto. And it was September. He says, we needed a panto to start in December. And I was like, are you kidding me on? But I was like, nah, fine, I'll do it. So, so then I just basically I had to write a script in 2 weeks, cast it in 2 weeks. And then we put on the pure amazing Wizard of Oz. And
And so it was basically just taking like the kind of the story, but then like making it more very kind of Scottish and, you know, a lot more kind of like modern kind of like Glasgow banter, sort of thing. So yeah, so then that happened, and I loved that, and that's when I started like kind of giving up acting, because I was going, I'm loving this so much more than, because at one point we get given that project in September. That year I was meant to be doing panto, and then I was still really building the agency, so it was just getting too much. But then I loved doing the panto, loved working with everyone on that, brought together an amazing team. And then every year after that, then the Courtiers moved to the Websters, which we're resident at, so that's 7 years now. The panto's moving on there, so we've been there. And then through that, again, going back to what we were saying before, inviting people along to see it in other venues, and now we've got other venues that now that kind of, so it kind of goes in a wee rotation, the shows. So now we've got 3 venues. So yeah, so the panto division's great, and it's like, you know, it's just like an alternative to, like, you know, kind of the bigger commercial pantos. It's a bit more smaller and intimate cast of 5. Completely rambled on again. Don't even remember what you asked me.
No, that's great. And you write the pantos as well.
Yeah.
And so where do you, with that side of it, because do you, like, where do you come up with the material to make it different each year? Or do you just kind of go, I can just basically use similar material but change that year? Or how do you go about, like, writing or coming up with new material each year?
No, every year you need to come up, because as you were saying earlier on, you need to listen to the audience, because if you come up with the same thing every single year, they won't come back. So every year we totally rehash it, like, and we try and give it like instead of like this year we might be doing Sleeping Beauty, but we'll call it Sleeping Singer, or, you know, or Jackie and the Beanstalk would be Jackie and the Baked Beanstalk. So we completely reinvent it and make it completely different. So every year we've got a different concept, different jokes, everything's completely different, because the audience is bored. Do you know, if they come to see the same jokes, the same thing. So I think probably that's why, like, because at the beginning, I mean, I never ever saw myself writing things at all, and I was just doing it again just because to keep control of it all. But then I was like, oh, I'm actually all right at this. So you kind of, as you learn new skills as you go along the way. So now I know that it works. I know that it kind of, I know that the structure of it all works, and now it's just like keeping it fresh and keeping it different every year.
What do you, so it's amazing. So how do you feel, is there a difference, like, with producing in a different place? Is Scotland different to producing in England? And I know that is like a really silly question, but is it? Are there differences? Is there more support in Scotland? Are the audience more willing to support? What do you?
Well, no, because a lot of the companies that actually work in Scotland are, you know, we're actually in talks about taking Girls Night OOT down south. Also, we need to make some tweaks, you know, with it, because it's very kind of, you know, around kind of, you know, kind of Scottish script and stuff. But yeah, so, but, you know, a lot of like English producers and promoters have seen it, and then they're wanting to take it down, you know, down south. So no, I think it's harder, maybe kind of Manchester, London, to maybe get slots in theatres. Obviously, you've got the West End, which is a completely different story, but the regional theatres, you know, it's maybe harder to get slots because a lot of the number 1 tours are going in or whatever. So that's kind of why we started with 1-nighters, 1-2-nighters, just to kind of, you know, get in there and kind of build a kind of momentum. But no, I think if you've got, again, it's just all about relationships. It's all about, you know, talking to the right people, putting yourself out there, and like believing in the product that you've got. I mean, you're going to knock so many doors, and people are just going to not be interested. But you just, you know, you need to keep knocking the door, ringing the bell.
I think that's a big part of it as well, isn't it? That you don't stop knocking those doors. That actually it's like you're part of success, and it's so interesting that through line that you're talking about with these Q&As. You know, we always say as casting directors that 95% of what casting directors will say is the same, and then there's that extra little 5%, which is how we like to have it done or how we like to work. So, but as a rule. But everyone talks about hard work. It's literally hard work. If you're prepared to work hard, then the success, and you've got you're a bit savvy, you know, if you keep throwing money away, no matter how hard you work, you're not going to be a success. But it's hard work, right?
Yeah. Do you want to hear a cheesy quote I heard the other day? But I quite like it.
Love it.
You can't climb the ladders of success with your hands in your pockets.
Well, there we go. Yeah.
Easy, but I like it.
Yeah, it's true. I think that it's Arlene was our first Q&A on the CCI. She's our she's our patron, and all she talks about through that inspiring Q&A we did was hard work. Her success through hard work. She worked really, really hard. She saw chances. She created her own dance company. She went out and she did it. She risked it. She put the risk on the line. And sometimes that we talk about, you know, you can, you know, have you ever, you probably said nope, but there's that imposter syndrome where you step outside of maybe what you've done, and you have the passion, you have the drive, you have the ideas, but then you sort of go, oh God, and you can feel quite exposed. Have you had that experience where you feel exposed about what you were doing in the beginning? And
because people ask questions all the time, so that, you know, and then, you know, all you have is a concept in your mind, or you have an ambition what you want to do with it, but then, you know, you present it to people and all they do is have questions, and sometimes you're like, I don't know, I just know that, like, this is what I could do. And then, but then, you know, then it's good to collaborate with people, because then they'll ask you questions, you go, I don't know the answers to that, I'll go find out the answers and I'll bring it back to you. But yeah, I think just as long as you believe, and as you're saying, it's just hard work and believing in what you've got, and believing in the talent you've got, and just, you know, it's nothing happens over. Some people it does happen overnight. Do you know what I mean? But it's, you know, it's a journey, isn't it? It's not just, you know, if you're in this career, you know, be it producing, casting, you know, actor, you want to. It's about the journey of it all.
With social media,
we're getting old.
with social media, do you find that it's helped your producing, or do you find that sometimes it can be a bit of a sidestep, so you can see that there's lots of traction on something, like people really getting behind something, and there's loads of like retweets and loads of like lovely comments, but then it doesn't evolve into money, you know, into those ticket sales or into whatever it might be? Do you feel that that social media can build up a sort of false sense of security?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I think it is. Obviously, we're constantly, you know, getting content out there, constantly trying to do things, and everyone's like, yeah, love it. And then, you know, but did they buy a ticket? Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. So that's when you've really got to look at the kind of marketing and, like, you know, boosting posts and things, and, you know, it's all about how you market it. But I mean, it is brilliant having social media. It's great, and you know, you're getting to, especially, you know, when, like, we'll go to, like, Derry, you know, with the shows and stuff as well, and you know, we don't have a marketing person over there, so we need to do it. And you know, so social media is a great way, because there's ways that you can do it, like marketing, so they can, you know, it'll target that area. So yeah, but you know, but do you know what? Being honest, I'm the same. Like, I've got friends that are in shows, and I'm like, oh my God, can't wait to come see us, can't wait to come see it, and I don't buy a ticket until the actual day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so we're all guilty of it. Whereas, like, when you're producing it, you're like, why have they not bought a ticket? Like, but
it's one of the things that we're are worried about with, like, the CCIs. You know, each day we tweet or we'll put on Instagram about who's on the next day, but we know already that can become noise, and then it's not getting to the right people. It's not, people aren't responding in the right way, and it's battling that what they call noise, in making sure that it's still getting through to people, and that, you know, things are still happening. And, you know, so because I feel that as great as social media is, it can be a bit of a bit of a misline. You know, it can sort of derail or desettle you, and it's working out those little twists about how you then, you know, catch that eye again to draw you in. Whereas, you know, there's something raw about. I remember doing lunchbox theatre when I was an actor. Did you ever do that at the Bridewell Theatre?
I don't know. I remember you doing it. Yeah, I remember you doing it.
And I loved it. I thought it was great. It's basically, if nobody knows what that was, it was theatre during lunchtime. And I directed a few, and I was in a few, and it was fantastic. Under the wonderful direction of Carol Metcalf, who used to run the Bridewell Theatre. And we would have to go out in the morning and flyer for it. And as hateful as that was, like, oh God, I got a flyer down, you know, it was still kind of great. And you actually gave, if someone took a flyer and chatted with you, it almost felt like an actual interaction. And then you saw them in the audience, you were like, yeah, you came, you know, and they brought friends. But yeah, social media, I feel, can sort of blur the lines a bit.
I think as long as you do it, like, with us, we're quite, you know, we're quite careful about when we do it. So it's like peak times, because, you know, it's like at lunchtime, you know, people are scrolling down their phones and stuff. So it's about not like putting out like 25 posts a day. It's just like, you know, it's kind of, it's like a meal. It's like in the morning, like noon, and then like kind of like, you know, dinner time, or, you know, and at the weekend obviously is quite good. But it's just, yeah, it's not bombarding people, but just letting them know, like, it's a nice wee push to know that it's there.
Definitely. Tamas has got a question here. How has the COVID situation affected your plans for new productions, and how will you gauge when the time is right to put a show on again?
So obviously it has had an impact, which has everyone, every theatre, everyone as well. So it had a big impact. But for planning, the theatre community has been brilliant. We've all kind of, you know, all come together, and yeah, basically we've moved everything. Everything's been moved to 2021. So all the dates that we had, we're really lucky. Again, the relationship we have with theatres, that we've moved everything. Hopefully there won't be a second spike or anything, and everything will go back to some form of normality. But yeah, it's just, you know, sorry, Tamas, but I don't know. It's everyone keeps asking these questions, and nobody knows the answers. But just now, the plan is there to put everything in 2021. So we're kind of booked from January through till December. So basically, the tours just moved a year. But that's existing stuff that we already had. So we probably won't be looking to, like, you know, develop or like program anything to probably mid next year. But a good tip though is basically everything does work a year in advance. So, you know, like that tour that was booked for this year was booked in the end of 2018. So just now, probably when we go back to the office on Monday, we'll be looking at the 2022 diary. So it's just everything's so in advance. So it's quite, so if you have got ideas or anything you want to develop, like, kind of really get them developed now, because they won't really come to fruition until maybe 2022. But yeah, the COVID situation's been, yeah, it's been definitely a problem. But you know, that's our job, and our job's to come up with answers, isn't it? So, you know, we've got loads of, you know, get problems. It's just we need to come up with a problem solving for it.
I think that with that, you know, and it's something that is so difficult, and it's something that we, you know, obviously this platform is built for, is that thing of, you know, I almost think it's better to look beyond this year now. I think that if stuff happens, it happens, which is fantastic. But I think, like you're saying, if you are a creative, especially in the producing side, don't worry about this year. Do everything. Yeah. Look to next year. Just look to it. I mean, summer's almost over, which is ridiculous. And it, you know, so it's like, have ideas, work on things for this year. But like you say, like, you know, it will come back. It's like, what is it? Theatre's over 2,000 years old. It's probably older than that. You know, the Greeks started it commercially. It's not going to go away forever. But it might look different when it comes out. So if it looks different, you know, and we've spoken a lot about, if there are things that you didn't like before we went into COVID, in terms of what the theatre world looked like, how it was run, or how, well, this is your chance in these times to just breathe, sit and work out what sort of world do you want to see when we come back. And can you be a part of that revolution or renaissance, that change? I think that's a big thing, and it's about that just look beyond now, rather than can we get it on next week? Can we get it on in a month? Because it's just too, I think it's just too up in the air to try and even think about.
Just now's a good time for planning. You know, for planning ahead. Like we plan, like me and you in the office, that we literally sit planning 6 months before every 6 months. So we just, you know, like we sit down and we're so far ahead for planning. So yes, we know that it's not going to happen in the next couple of months. So it's about, you know, the kind of the bigger picture. But then before you know it, we'll be where we already planned, and then we're planning for the next 6 months. So, but I think just now is a good time to really be planning, and to, if you're a writer, writing, if you know, get in touch with venues. Maybe a lot of venues won't be in, but writing out those venues that, you know, you want to visit, find out what the capacity is. Do you need to hire them? So just now is a great time. We've been doing loads of research, which is quite nice. It's given us a bit of still time to do that.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and I also think that you know, it is an opportunity to look ahead and go, that's the venue for me, and it's never been free. Yeah. You know, maybe it will be now. Maybe, you know, because that venue will be free, or maybe they'll be hungry for new ideas, new, you know, a new injection. You know, the landscape will change in terms of who's in charge of places, who has decided they don't want to run things anymore. All of that's going to change, and I think it can be an exciting time, no matter how dark it feels right now. You can, if you just look beyond a little bit in the producing world. It is all about just today, and just relax. Use platforms like this as your opportunity to learn and to grow and to try new things. I think that is a really important thing. Sam saying, having learnt the hard way, it's all about 2021 and beyond now, and I think that is absolutely true. Tamas also says, in terms of marketing, what do you find the most effective, or do you have any tips? I adapted, produced, directed a show, and the first year I had good returns on boosts, etc., but the second year I didn't.
Good question. Yeah, the boosts really do help. Like the Facebook boosts do help, and just like really zoning in on exactly where you want to market. Also, I don't know where Tamas is, but I'm pretty sure that there's lots of like poster companies that are quite good if you get in and get a good deal with them, and then they can, because they still work, you know, like in the olden days you'd see, you know, fly posting. So like, I mean, especially in Scotland and everywhere, you know, at the festival you see the posters everywhere. As long as you've got, I think as well, getting a really good, concise, clear image of the show that you're doing, and just not making it too busy, getting a really good design for it, and then, you know, still, you know, using like the old school, you know, paying for the posters to be up through the, you know, through the cities and stuff. Also in the undergrounds, they've all gone digital now, but they are quite good, because, you know, it's like when you're standing waiting, like, you know, for an underground, like, there's the digital things, and your mind is subconsciously going, oh, that's coming here, or that's, so yeah, I would say, yeah, so I would say, like, obviously your Facebook, your Twitter, but yeah, maybe going a bit old school as well, getting, you know, the posters up throughout the town.
I think the old school for me, I was talking to somebody about this actually end of last year, saying that I'm losing faith in it only being social media marketing in terms of the noise thing. And, you know, I'd be interested to know, like, did you use the same poster? Did you make any alterations to it? Did you change colors to it? Because if you're using the same, if it was the same show, for example, if you use the same image, I might not read that again, because I just think it's, oh yeah, I saw that last year. Oh, that's an old post, or that's come up. There's things like that. I think that that's part of the social media noise that we mentioned earlier, that sometimes you just scroll. And like when you look at a Twitter feed, if I press refresh on that, it just goes brr, 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 like this. I think a really good thing for marketing is that if you have a specific show, so let's say it was a show about Latin America, so there was lots of Latin America dance in it and music, to not rely, you know, actually pinpoint your marketing, like Paul was saying as well, not just social media, with an email, with a phone call, with a flyer, with a letter, you know, things like to specific communities that might be really interested. So the Latin dance community, the Latin music community, that they will then can escalate that social media for you, I think. But be careful using a same poster that almost looks identical to 2 years before, because I think people just scroll past it. It doesn't catch the eye, even if they need to see it.
Yeah. For social media, what we found quite good. So, for example, Girls Night OOT, in January, we did a new photo shoot for the new cast. And so loads and loads of photos at different things, like interesting, like kind of, you know, 'cause it's a fun show. So there was like, you know, some of them, you know, as if they'd finished the night out waiting at the bus stop, you know, running up a lane as if like the bounce was chasing them. So different things. So also we've got the show poster, and everyone identifies the show with the show poster, but for social media it's quite good to have those different images, because the good thing we've had is like repeat business. You know, people say, oh, I've seen the show 5 times, we're coming back. And it's like, so we're trying to like keep the content fresh. I think it's just trying to keep it as fresh and keeping it as, you know, like, not, I don't know, it's fun the word, but yeah, fun, like, you know, it's something that catches the eye, but just keeping it as varied as possible. I think you're right, keeping it as varied.
Yeah, definitely. I think what you do so well with Girls Night Out is exactly that. You share with us the experience of the process of the marketing, and that's something I worked in advertising when I first started, like way before I was as an actor, and in advertising it was only for a newspaper, but the campaigns I did a lot of the time were quite successful, and it was on the advert. It's the process of getting to the advert that's the final thing, and I think you do that really well, Paul, that with these photo shoots it kind of looks like some of the images like the mistake shot, but actually it is the shot, and that creates a relationship with the girls. And so you're like, oh, look at that, that's amazing, look at them laughing. And so you start, even if you don't know who they are, what the show's about, the images that you have, you look at them and you go, oh, and you start to create a story between the viewer and the image. And that's where photos are so powerful. But you're kind of telling the story before you even get to the poster and say, oh, it's a show you can buy a ticket to. Is that right? Yeah,
100%, yeah, totally right. And we did last year as well, which also has been really helpful. We made a trailer, but we got the trailer made at the Playhouse. So it was packed, and then there was this, you know, bits of the show, but then we got the audience, like, you know, you've seen loads of them, like what the audience thought of it and stuff. So having that and just mixing it all up, I think just mixing up the content as much as possible, because when COVID hit, I was saying, oh, we need content, so it's about creating. So that's when we call it Girls Night In. So now we've got the content for Girls Night In to still use. So it's just keeping it as varied. And well, you know what it's like when you scroll through things, you want something to catch your eye. So that's just really what you've got to try and do.
And I think so, you know, someone could be sitting there, Tamas, you might be sitting there going, oh, well, this is all I can see is me writing, you know, getting my checkbook out and da. But go back to what Paul said early on, and that's call on friends. There'll be photographers out there that are starting out that want to build their portfolio. There will be, you know, somebody who's just done a video making course that you know, or a friend of a boyfriend or girlfriend of, you know, that again, they want their portfolio to grow and use them as partners, put them in the programs, on the posters, say that support thing we partnered with, you know, because everyone starting out wants help to start out. And it's not about doing stuff for free. It's actually like, so I did a lot of photography, and, you know, you do shoot for print. So working with models, they get a free shoot and I get a free model, and it's a two-way thing. They get free shots to use in their portfolio, and my portfolio grows. And there's lots of that out there that people are willing to like help and help you grow without it just being constantly like, oh, I've got to find this. At those starting points, Paul, when you're just starting out, you know, like you said earlier, grabbing onto friends that can help you where it will benefit them as well is it's a massive value, isn't it?
Oh, totally, yeah. It's you know, it's teamwork, isn't it? So it's, you know, and then it's everyone kind of working together, and you know, if you've got a good support around you, then it is, you know, like, I mean, I wouldn't think twice if, you know, phoning you, James, and going, or Rosie, and going, or you wouldn't think twice about phoning me. Like, you build up that community and you build that relationship, and you're like, oh, of course I'll help you. Yeah, no worries. And it's, you know, it's yeah, it's just having good people around you, and as you see, it can really benefit people. You know, if they are like want to get into photography, or they want to, or even if, you know, someone wants to come be a PA for the day, like to, you know, to help you out, or you know, do costume, or, you know, I've got friends that are even in the industry that get involved with our projects because they just love to be involved in it. So yeah, I think having a good team around you is good.
Do you ever have interns? Do you ever have people come and work with you in that capacity?
We used to like years ago, like, you know, like to come into the rehearsals or whatever. But to be honest, now it's just so difficult because there's so much volume going on that really you'd have to take the time to then show the intern what to do, and then you're taken away. So it's just a time sensitive thing. It's you know, it's something, you know, would want to do in the future, but just recently it's just not been possible because it's been so kind of busy with everything. But yeah, but that is a good thing. Like, always trying to be an assistant with someone, or Stephen, you get an internship, or you can like shadow. You know, we get people all the time asking to come in, but sometimes it's just, if you're taken away from the job that's in hand and everything's so time sensitive, it's quite hard. And obviously you want to give people an opportunity, but you have to balance it out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What if you could give one tip of things not to do as starting out as a looking back at maybe you're listening for it. Looking back at maybe mistakes you made, or things that happened that weren't your fault, or, you know, somebody wasn't very kind to you, or that you chose the wrong venue that was a bit dodgy, or not that I think you've had that experience, but anything like that, what would it be that you would say, either, oh, don't do that, or watch out for this?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, you've stumped me.
I'm going to let you think about that whilst we say, Tamas says, thank you. I definitely haven't been doing some of those, so that's helpful. Good. That's what it's about, Tamas. Absolutely. Yeah. Is there something like, sometimes you can work, you know, as casting directors, we have done our due diligence on a show, or it might be we've worked with this producer before, or blah, blah, blah. And so something things just happen, and you didn't see it, and you know, we're fairly cautious, and you look for it, but it just wasn't there, and it still goes, stuff still happens. Yeah, is there anything, or is it just been all golden for you?
Well, you know, we say this quite a lot when we do other talks. It's like, it's called show business, and I think maybe when I was younger, it was all about the show. The show needs to be good. The show needs to be good, but it is a business. So and actually, there was one time, I just remember that I went in, and I think it was to get some funding or whatever, and I had to do a big presentation, and I must have been like 20 or something, and the guy was, and I always remember the guy said to me, and he stumped me, and he said, what's the number one key to success in business? And I was like, show, you know, the show needs to be brilliant, the audience needs to have it. And he was like, no, cash flow. And I was like, yes. Always something I've remembered, because and it's something through, and it's because I was always going to show because it's like a bit of your own ego is always about the show needs to be good, and you have the best actors, it needs to be amazing, it's all about the show, but then it's a business, and if you don't have the cash flow, then there ain't no show. And that rhymes.
And you know, you can look back at shows that have happened in the West End, that, you know, going right back to like when the IRA bombings were happening in London, and it crippled the theatre industry. There were shows that shut because they didn't have the cash flow. They had future sales, but you can only go into those future sales however many months in advance. What is it, 3 months or something? You're only allowed to take. They had a year's worth of sales, but they didn't have the cash to make it past that 3 months. And so that's part of it as well. I mean, I think that is a great lesson. Cash flow, definitely. You've got to be able to, and I think with the producing side as well, I'd love to know if you agree with this. It's like you go into it going, okay, I might lose this amount of money that I'm investing. I'm investing £1,000, and I'm prepared to lose that £1,000. That's going to happen if it doesn't sell at whatever percentage, but I'm okay with that. Yeah. That means that £1,000 is your cash flow to take it right to the end of that production. And whether or not you make money or not, everything has been paid, everything is done. You lose £1,000. There we go. That's what it is. It's when you get everyone on board, and when we're talking about using friends and stuff, that's great. But if by the end of that run, that £1,000 that you're like, I might lose, you don't have it, that's your cash flow.
That's your cash flow.
So don't do it. Don't do it relying on those ticket sales. You will lose every time. That's probably the number one thing. Like, I will not put on a show or do anything unless I know up front I can pay for my cast, I can pay for the crew, I can pay for the because what's the point? Because as you're saying, go back to my younger self, I was like, no, it's the show. I must put on a show. But it's like, but it is a business. So yeah, I think you're totally right. Just make sure you're prepared to lose what you can put in, but you've got the cash flow to make sure that everyone's paid. Yeah, it's not like, oh, if this happens, we lose £1,000, but at least that £1,000 I lose will come from ticket sales. No. That £1,000 is in your bank account today. Yeah. That you're going to lose. That's the cash flow. Don't do it the other way ever, because that's when you can't pay venues, and that's when you can't pay the marketing people, and that's when basically your first project as a producer, you're already sort of a bit screwed. You already get those black marks. You know, I think that's
sometimes venues, like, they won't pay you. You know, the show going, you need to pay the cast, but they won't pay you like for maybe a month after or whatever. So definitely.
Yeah. I think producer, you need to have some shows that lose, so you can learn, develop, and grow from there to strive for more success. I completely agree. I think that it's that thing of, and again, I've witnessed this not just in theatre, but in business, where people have gone out and done something and it's been a huge success. They take all of that money from that huge success, thinking this is a dream, and they invest it all into the next project. And then it's dropped, and then they go, okay. So it was luck the first time. The second time, that luck wasn't there. It wasn't right, and you lose it all. Would you agree with saying every time you produce, and you said this by go back to a small venue, trial it out. Every time you produce, go back to the way you did it the first time it was successful. And if that means starting in a small venue, start with small money, build it up. What do you think?
Absolutely. And we're in talks about doing another show, obviously next year. And again, I'll go straight back to that 250 seater that I started at, do 2-3 nights, trial it out, tweak it, then take it, maybe go to maybe like a 300-400, do that for a bit and stuff, tweak it. Yeah, that's the way I've found that it kind of works. Because if you take a new show and you go into, say, like the Playhouse, and it's a 3,000 seater, and like everyone's like, that is absolute rubbish you've produced, then you're screwed. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so build it up, everything. Just every new show should be like, like go back to the beginning stage.
Yeah. So it says on advanced sales, most of the time you can only access the week of the show, which is a huge change from the glory days pre-IRA campaign. Right. Okay. So now it's just a week. So remember that you can only access a week's money. So if you can't pay the month, if you can't pay your month debt, which will be wages, marketing, etc., don't think ticket sales are going to do it for you. You're only going to have a week, and it won't be enough.
Sometimes that venues, like we're chasing, it's like an invoice, like you're chasing something, and a lot of the time you can't get into any advanced ticket sales. Like sometimes you will not get that until the theatre staff have been paid. It depends what deal you're on. So yeah, you need to make sure you have the capital for that show, like to pay for everything before you get the ticket sales.
How do you, with regards to you working predominantly, basically with new writing, that's what you're working with, even though a lot of it's tried and tested now, it's still new writing. And so, again, we've all been at those nights where you go and watch a new show and you sit there and go, did no one watch this before this? Like, people get in their bubble of, this is outstanding, this is fantastic. And I feel that you've got to be careful between understanding what hard work is and understanding whether the work has worked or not. How do you gauge? So is it all based on, okay, you go, well, these worked before. Is it all based on going to those 250 seaters and doing those trial nights? Are they literally the most important nights for you?
Yeah, and like, you know, during like rehearsals, like we workshop things, you know, we'll bring in people. But again, I always trust the actors I work with because they're brilliant. But then we take it, and then, you know, the first night, and then you know it's like until you see what an audience reacts to, and some, you know, they react to different things, and then so yeah, trialing it out definitely, because as I say, if I took that to a huge venue and like no one's laughing or no one's enjoying themselves, then it's just a complete flop. And then
it happens all the time. It happens all the time. They go straight to the 2,000 seater venue, and you're like, Hamilton took 8 years to develop, 8 years of trial and error and work and going, you know, and that's why it's so successful, is that it wasn't just like, yeah, we were at the show, find a massive venue.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important. Those trials are so important. But I think we're almost at the end now. I think my thing for anyone watching this to take away, and it's something that we've always, been in awe of you about, Paul, is listen. Listen to your audience. Don't put something on those trial nights, you don't get the laughs, and then ignore that audience.
Yeah.
Ignore the critique. Don't ignore the audience. The audience will tell you whether, and then don't try and make excuses for it, them not laughing or them not crying. Don't make excuses, oh yeah, well the weather was bad or this. No. If they're not laughing or crying, ask them why. Don't think you know best, because at the end of the day, they're the people you want to buy the tickets, right?
And yeah, and that's how you get repeat business, because people will come back and like they'll still laugh at the same thing. They'll still, but yeah, you're totally right. Listen, the audience will tell you. They do all the work for you. You do the work, then you kind of give it to them, see what they think, and then you take it back and then you rework it, and then yeah, no, totally.
Don't do it to the industry professionals and friends, because they won't be as honest. They won't be as honest. You put a room full of all your mates and all your actor mates and go, I really want your honest feedback. They probably won't have the balls to do it. They won't give it to you. But an audience of unknowns who literally have no connection with you whatsoever, but they've paid a tenner or 20 quid or a fiver to go and watch. And don't think somebody paying a fiver that they'll go, oh, well, I've only paid a fiver, I'll still have a good night. If it's rubbish, they'll be upset they've wasted a fiver on it.
Yeah, they'll tell you. They'll totally tell you.
Yeah, fantastic. Paul, we're at the end.
Oh, that went so quick, didn't it?
Probably. I still haven't talked about like the agency and producing. I've got like, there's so much more. I think we have to.
We'll do another one.
We'll definitely do another one. I want to leave with what TV are you watching at the moment?
What TV am I watching at the moment? Just finished Schitt's Creek.
Is it good?
Oh, it's hilarious. It's really good. Yeah, it's Schitt's Creek, and I'm about to start Ozark. I heard that's amazing.
Yeah, that's on our list. We've got this massive list. I'm going to write that one down onto it. And what about music? When you're kind of getting your head around the creative side of it, what music do you listen to get you?
I like a bit of the old dance music, just because it's a bit of light relief. Do you know what I mean? It's just a bit of light relief with everything that's kind of going on. So yeah, a wee bit of dance music, happy dance music, positive music. It's quite good for working too as well. Gets you motivated.
Because it's not there's no lyrics and everything, so it just keeps the vibe going.
And then sometimes put a vocal in there as well, and it's
Yeah.
See, you're going.
Paul, it's been amazing. I hope that we get to physically see you again very soon. Last time Paul and I were together, we were walking through the streets of Glasgow. I think we might have had a drink. I'm not quite sure, but we were screaming that we were singing Flopstar from as loud as we could, which was hilarious. It's one of those shows that I still remember all the lyrics to. It's so, and that, I think, you know, when you're onto a winner, when the songs don't leave you.
Yeah, they stay with you.
Yeah, definitely. Paul, you're amazing. Thank you so much for your time here today.
Stay safe. Have a good day.
Absolutely. I'm just going to take you out the live stream. Thank you so much. We'll have all the thank yous. They're coming in here now. Actually, I'm just going to pop these up here. Thank you so much for this helpful session. It's great to listen to all your advice and experiences. Thank you both for your time this afternoon. It's the morning. Where are you, Rachel? Thank you for this session. Thank you. Thank you for all the advice, James and Paul. Very informative. Thanks, Paul and James. Love you, Sam. Paul, I'm going to take you out of here. Thanks, mate. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We literally probably could have gone on for about another 2 hours. There was so much more, but we will get Paul back, most definitely. What do we have for the rest of the day? We have Julia Frost coming in. She is doing puppeteering. That proved so successful last time. We had wonderful Jessica Parker in last time, and Jessica's incredibly busy. So we have Julia with us to come back part 1 puppeteering. She's going to do like different stages. We have MT Nerd Out with Jordan Lee Smith. Love that title. And that's at 2 o'clock. We have a heels dance class with Eminem Jazz at 3:30, and then Ahmed Hamad, actor, is here for our candid Q&A at 5. So go on to our website, collectivecreativeinitiative.co.uk. All the information about what we have coming up. That's all right, Rachel. It is this morning. I feel like it's the afternoon already. Yes, please, as I said at the beginning, share the love, share these, go on to our YouTube channel. You can copy and a session that you really loved and retweet it. We really, really want everyone out there to be using this. It is for everyone and it's free. We love you all. Have a wonderful day. Spread the love.